what am I doing? Well, I'm bowing to the emperor. Okay, that's really over the top, but yes, it is the Kushaq, which means emperor in Sanskrit, and you've seen this car very many times before. You saw it in concept version at the Auto Expo. Then, of course, we had the camouflage drive and, of course, a static reveal for the interior and exterior as well. So today, I have the production-ready version to get my hands behind the wheel. Now, I'm off to do that and tell you whether this can really be king of the very crowded mid-size SUV segment. But before I do that, why don't you hit the subscribe button and of course the bell icon for notifications every time we drop a nice new video like this.
And if you want to see this video in Hindi, जुड़िए हमारे साथ Autocar India YouTube channel पर.
Now, since you've seen the car before and we're all interested in how it drives, let's do that first. Today we have both the 1-litre manual and the 1.5 DSG, and I'm going to drive the 1-litre manual first. So as soon as you get into the car, it's really easy to get into a nice driving position because there is a wide range of adjustments for height for the driver's seat, and even for someone my height, it's really easy to get good visibility. There's nice large glass areas. So it feels really comfortable, and you do get that king of the road feel from behind the wheel. Now, the thing to note is that the driver's seat adjustments are manual in the Kushaq, where it's direct rivals of powered ones on the higher variants. The 1-litre turbo puts out 115 HP and 178 Nm of torque, which may seem small, but turbos can be wonderful things. This 1-litre doesn't feel like a small engine at all. In fact, it feels pretty darn good. It's got a very strong mid-range, spin it past the 2000 RPM mark, and it really comes into its own. It's got a nice progressive delivery of power. You can ride that wave all the way to the red line. It's only when you fall below the 1800 RPM mark that you will require gear changes to make a sudden move. But use it at path throttle and it still responds really well. To explain that further, even at lower revs, it's better if you gently accelerate rather than press the pedal to the floor. Gradual acceleration delivers power better. So in traffic, as long as you don't stomp your foot down, you won't really need to downshift. And when you do have to use the gears, it's a nice short throw, positive, slick gear shift. And while the clutch is light enough, the release point is a bit high and a touch sharp. So it will take a bit of getting used to. Overall, the performance of the 1-litre turbo petrol is impressive. And in our 0 to 100 acceleration, the manual did 11.47 seconds. But from the feel behind the wheel, what I can tell you is that city or highway, it is very capable. Not only in the way that it delivers power, but in the way that it handles too. Now, while this two-spoke steering may look really good, when you're driving, it really gives you a nice connected feel to the road, points the nose in sharply, and gives you an immense amount of confidence. And it's not just the steering, it's the way that the Kushaq just carves out the corners in this very calm, composed manner. It really is a car that enthusiasts would enjoy driving. Whether it's around corners or at higher speeds on a highway, it feels stable, planted and well connected to the road. And while we're talking of confidence behind the wheel, let's take a look at the host of safety features. And this is where the Kushaq really excels, in the way that it combines its ride and handling package. And while I'm talking about ride, it's time for me to pull over, stop and step into the back seat. So it's time to test the back seat, and I've got 6-foot-tall Firoz driving me, who's set the seat in his driving position. I'm 5'4", and as you can see, there is ample legroom back here, not only for me, but for another very tall person to be seated behind him. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that this is class-leading legroom. There is also enough space under the front seat to stretch your legs out, and enough headroom as well, with the rear portion of the roof being scooped out to make additional room for taller people. So you can get really comfortable in this back seat. Now, I say comfortable not only because of the amount of space that's here, but also because of the ride quality. The ride of the Kushaq is on the firmer side, but it still does manage to soften out the bumps and potholes, especially at low speeds, and even when you pick up the pace, it stays flat and composed. For convenience, there are USB-C ports. Good for modern devices, but most will have the older USB socket, so don't forget to bring an adapter. There are also aircon vents at the rear. The seats themselves are comfortably cushioned, but you do sit a little low. The back seat is best meant for 2 people with the way the seats are contoured here at the back, but at a squeeze you can get 3 people in. But I have to say, it is narrower than the competition and it is a bit tight. However, with the flattish floorboard, you do have enough legroom for the third passenger. And when you don't have a third passenger, you can open the armrest and get pretty comfortable. Now, I've jumped into the 1.5 litre with the 7-speed DSG to get an impression of that as well. And this is pretty much the same combination of engines and gearboxes that we had driven during our camouflage drive. And I think impressions remain pretty much the same even now in the production-ready versions. Right away, off the bat, you can feel the difference in the steering, especially around corners. It doesn't feel quite as sharp or as connected as the one in the 1 litre. It is a lot lighter. The car feels a little nose heavier as well, so it doesn't feel quite as agile as the 1 litre feels. But that's still not to take away from the handling of this car. It still goes around corners pretty darn well. And it's just the difference between the two that stands out. It does generally feel like a softer setup, and you can feel that in the ride quality as well, where it's rounding off the bumps and the potholes a lot better. It feels a lot more plusher over the bad sections of road. The 1.5 litre engine produces 150 HP and 250 Nm of torque, and the version I'm driving comes mated to a 7-speed DSG. It also has active cylinder tech that seamlessly deactivates 2 cylinders without the driver ever noticing. This is done when the load is low to ensure good fuel efficiency. The meat of the power kicks in after about 2000 RPM, and then the engine delivers a strong linear acceleration. It's really quick in the flat-out run. The 0 to 100 for the 1.5 DSG comes up in just 9.54 seconds, which makes it the quickest amongst its direct rivals. But where it gets let down a bit is with the 7-speed DSG. Now, the box is smooth and not snappy like the other DSGs, but when you want that quick burst of power after slowing down, it doesn't react quick enough, and there's a loud jump in revs till the clutch engages fully. The engine is smooth and it loves to be revved, but it does get boomy at the red line. So now that you know how both these variants feel out on the road, let's get down to the other things you'd like to know. What is it like on the inside and what features does it offer? It's a really nicely laid out interior, and it's not the normally, very simple Skoda interior that you would find. There are many contours, textures and layers on this dash, and they've tried to accommodate it to Indian tastes with the splashes of chrome, this really superb 3D look texturing on the dash, which was inspired from kalamkari art from India. There is a piano black finish, but that does feel a little bit plasticky. However, on the whole, it looks really good. I love the way that the tablet is tucked into this recess over here. It doesn't stick out of the dash and hamper your vision. There's another recess on top here for us Indians who like to put our little gods or, our lucky charms into the car as well. They're very nice sliders for the air controls and for the temperature control as well. Very intuitive, very easy to use. You have ventilated seats, you have wireless charging as well. Now, the one big miss in this car is the dials. These are analog, they do not have digital dials, and we've really come to expect it in all levels of cars these days. So that is a big miss on the Kushaq. And they do look dated on this otherwise modern looking cabin. However, you have this nice two-spoke steering that we've seen in the likes of the Octavia as well. So that feels like it's from a level above and looks really nice. The seats themselves quite comfortable. They have nice side bolstering. And yes, the Kushaq does have a sunroof. And of course, it has lots of storage spaces and cubby holes for all kinds of things all across the car. The infotainment provides Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly, which is great. And a nice feature is that you can opt to keep the wireless charging pad on or off. And when you do keep it on, because it's tucked away under the console, the screen displays a warning if your phone goes off charge. And that's quite a cool feature. But there are other things around the cabin that make you feel like there have been conscious cost-cutting decisions. Like the felt roof liner, exposed sliding mechanism on the sunroof, some of the plastic quality and other missing features. So the Kushaq doesn't have that European quality feel that we're used to from Skoda on the interior. But it does feel solidly put together, and even the doors close with a nice thunk. Now, before I go on, let's take a look at the feature list that you get. Like every other Skoda, the Kushaq also has a host of those simply clever features, small things that make big differences to everyday functions. Let's take a look at what they are. For luggage space, the Kushaq has a 385-litre boot, but you will have to lift the luggage out over the lip. You can also flip the rear seats down to open up more room in a 60-40 split. Now, you've seen this car before, so I'm not getting into extensive details on the exterior, but it suffices to say it's a sharply styled car that does have wow factor. I like the aggressive front and the neatly styled rear that gives it a distinctive look. It may look compact on the outside, but it is a visual impression. It is similarly sized to the competition, with its overall length and width being slightly smaller, but it has more space between the wheels. It also has 155mm of ground clearance. We've talked at length about the way the Kushaq looks in our first look video, so click on the link on your screen right now for that video. Now, another point that people worry about is the peace of mind, and to offer that to its customers, Skoda is offering a 4-year or up to 1 lakh kilometers warranty, which can be extended with various packages. So can the Kushaq live up to its name and be king of its class? Well, let's just say it has some really tough competition in its segment, especially from the Korean cousins. While it may not have the plush interiors and the extensive feature list that they offer, the Skoda delivers on performance thanks to a pair of strong engines and a superbly judged ride and handling balance, which makes it a truly enjoyable car to drive. It's spacious and practical too, with comfy seats and generous storage. So, whilst the Kushaq has armed itself with some pretty strong credentials, it eventually all boils down to price, which is expected to be competitive with the high levels of localization. The 1 litre variant is impressive and it punches above its weight. And it is the one that I would pick from both variants for the sheer value that it will offer.
इसमें मुझे भी आना है क्या?
नहीं जरूरत नहीं, तू कुछ मत कर।
बस साइड में हट जा। To the Autocar India, पट करके भागना नहीं तो मार मिलेगी। ओके ओके, ये पिकनिक करने आया है फिरोज। Get out! Hallelujah!